Hello, hello, you most beautiful stars. Yes, there might have been a pause there for you. I am usually on a bit of a delay, so I tend to try to be with everyone. So, hello, it's been so long, you beautiful stars. Oh my goodness. Well, it's been since last Friday. And today is Wednesday at 2 p.m. for Edgar Cayce Life Skills Study. If you don't know, um, we've been going through his biography and or one of his books. We've been doing the Edgar Cayce. This is the book that we normally are doing, at least of right now. I think we'll go into the Millennium book next. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. Maybe put suggestions below in the comments about where you would like to explore with Edgar Cayce. There's a ton of material. So either we're doing a book like this, or we are in his biography. And so I flip floppy every Wednesday at 2 p.m. And today is his bio again, which is nice. We haven't talked about his bio in a couple of weeks. And so it's good to see into what his life really was like. And I see that Chloe is in the chat. Good to see you, Chloe. For those who might be watching this later, I do try to say hello to those in the chat because we are a beautiful community here. So we say hello to one another. So good day, Chloe. It's been a while. Oh, thank you. Chloe just said that I'm looking great. Thank you. Oh, thanks. 'Tis the season of the light. So I'm trying to represent the light to everyone. And God bless it, the sun is out. Or at least it was. If you have the sun going on in your location, get out there. Put some sun on your face. You need it. You need it. Right before, as I was pulling everything together, I did pull from our sacred geometry deck for today. Number 12, change. The frequency of change supports our ability to gracefully dance with the ever-changing nature of reality, both inward and outward, so we can appreciate the sweet release of the old and birth of the new. It's fascinating that this card, sorry with the glare of the light, it actually looks better when I pull it back here. This card, in my opinion, should really come out Friday for Friday's message at 11 a.m. This Friday is going to be a big message, a big message. And so it's like this card feels more for that, but we'll see where it flows today when we talk about his bio. Because I think really at the end of like where I'm going to leave us off with the bio, this is actually apropos to it, change. Because we're starting to head into people acknowledging how Cayce can do these readings in a very weird twist of fate in a way that he referenced as divine punishment, which I've never really heard of divine punishment. I've heard of divine intervention that could feel like a punishment. So we'll talk about it. It'll be fun. It is good to see Seeker. It is good to see Terry. It is good to see Susie. Welcome, 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 everybody. And if I do miss seeing you in the chat, I apologize. And if you are new here to Stars of the Morning Light, welcome. We adore you. You shine like a star. Welcome, welcome. So if we can go far back now, I mean, I don't think I've done a bio of Edgar Cayce video. Guys, I think it's been like 5 weeks or something since we visited his story, his bio. We all are stories, and it's amazing. It's going to be a big part of what I'm going to be talking about on Friday. But it's been like 5 weeks since I'm going to kind of go back just a tad to bring us back to bring us to where we are now. In the last one, remember, he kind of cheated on his fiancee Gertrude as he was working in Louisville. You know, he was making good money. He met a female that he started enjoying a lot of his time with. She came from money, so they were doing a lot of charity stuff together. There were a lot of ways he was justifying hanging out with this woman alone. And remember, this is the turn of the century. A lot of today we're going to be just focusing on the year 1900 in Cayce's life. And that's the point of a lot of the series, is bringing the turn of that century of the 19th century into today's world, right? Because we're 100 years later. So what still holds value, what doesn't hold, right? Especially when it comes to the Akashic and all of his information there. So he was hanging out with this other lady, yeah, and Gertrude found out through the grapevine. And one Christmas he finally came home and he saw how, well, he found out Gertrude knew, of course, and he saw the toll it was taking on her, because she's his fiance. You don't just start hanging out with another lady just because you work somewhere else. It took a big physical, mental, psychological, emotional toll on Gertrude. Cayce decided, okay, I'm ending things with her. I'm sticking to my commitment with you. I'm actually going to leave that job, come back home. And he started working with his dad, who is now selling life insurance. On top of that, we also briefly talked about how he had a couple of different exchanges with a hypnotherapist or a hypno show. I guess, think of vaudeville, or even now in today's world where hypnotists will do an entire show and watch and pull somebody from the audience. So he's had two different semi-experiences with that. That plays into where we're headed. So I had to bring you back into that then. Remember, one of them, it was very easy to put Cayce under a trance and get him to do whatever he did. The second one, it was remarkable because all of a sudden they said, play the piano. And the showman, who is the hypnotist, thought it'd be fun, funny to watch him mess around on the keys, when Cayce actually sat down and started playing beautiful music out of nowhere, right? He had never had any training. So that hypnotherapist, well, actually I shouldn't say hypnotherapist, hypno showman, because that's how I want to put it, hypno showman, he is contacted when we get into where we're headed. So good to see everybody. Lori's in, everybody's in. Good to see you. Good to see you. So where we are now is he's selling insurance with his father. He is not enjoying it, folks. He just knows that this is not his calling, even though he is making good money. Between selling the insurance with his dad, which also has him traveling a lot, and he was also selling out of J.P. Morgan's catalog to people. Same as how you might buy something today off of Etsy. He had his own Etsy going on, okay? So with those two things, he was actually bringing in $50 a month, which is the equivalent, and I believe 1980 something when this bio was written, was the equivalent to $5,000 a month back when at the turn of the century. So in 1900, 1900, because that's the year we're in, he's selling the insurance, he's making $50 a month, which is the equivalent to $5,000. Financially, he's doing well. He's spending his quality time with Gertrude, his fiance. Things supposedly you would think on the surface are looking good. Not so much. He emotionally is beating himself up for basically cheating on Gertrude. He has not let that go. He's really tearing himself up because you have to think he thought himself as a God-fearing, loving man, and cheating is definitely not a part of that equation. So he was really emotionally beating himself up that he was out there living the high life when Gertrude was falling apart. So he was not forgiving himself for that. On top of working for his dad was difficult. Now, do remember his relationship with his father was strained anyways because of the man who raised him, right? Probably not his biological father. His uncle was probably his biological father. They've alluded to it enough. But the man, Leslie, who raised him, his father, we know the backstory. And if you don't, go back and start at the beginning of this Edgar Cayce series. There's a lot of fascinating stuff and great finds in it, not just from his bio, but from going through his other material. So we know that his relationship with his father was strained. But he's working for him because he needed a job when he left to get back to Gertrude. The main reason it was strained is because his father, and we know this, was a very blunt racist. I mean, it very much. His father would not allow any of the salesmen to sell to any African Americans. He wanted that pure white line, right, to sell to. He adamantly talked against the black community. And Cayce, this beautiful soul that he is, completely disagreed with that. It would make him sick to his stomach. We really do need to think about the stress of that. Disagreeing with your father to the point that it's affecting everything. And for Cayce, he never understood why his father had such strong political opinions, because those were also wrapped up in his political views. He didn't understand why when they knew and were around their black workers a lot. They were a tobacco company, remember? They were tobacco farmers. So a lot of their workers, and they were workers, they weren't slaves at this time. The workers were all African American. The man who saved Cayce when he was a child, remember, he drowned when he was 6 years old, was a black man. One of his caretakers, a nanny, a black woman, is actually the one, and I'm bringing this all back up because it goes into where we're headed. When he got hit with a baseball in his spleen and in his groin area, really bad accident, and I mean, I think fast hit baseball, or it was a baseball bat, I can't really remember right now, but he lost one of his testicles. It was also messed up. There was a huge cut, and for some reason both of the doctors around could not heal, or the incision and the cut that was needed to remove the testicle, because it was that messed up. It was that it got that damaged. For some reason the doctors couldn't heal it, but his black nanny healed it with a quickness, right? So he had a love and appreciation for this group of people, that he could not at all represent himself as a salesman for this company that was openly racist. It made him literally sick, and we're going to talk about it. On top of not just that aspect, but knowing he was not living in the direction that all those dreams he had back when, really living with his gifts, accepting his gifts, he knew he was vastly living in the opposite direction. He just didn't know what to do about it because he felt like he needed to pay back to Gertrude and say, I'm going to live a stable life. I'm going to create a home for us. I'm making this money. He felt so in debt to Gertrude that he was forcing himself to go to work every day. This is all understandable, folks. It really is. It's understandable to the time period. To the time period. Many of us now will say, no, if my job does not align with my value system, I'm not going to do that job. Not as easy when, back when, the women weren't working. It was up to the man to provide completely. I will tell you, it's going to be interesting. I will be recording again with Dr. Benjamin Goins. Hopefully that will air next week. And we'll be talking about the dowry of marriage and dowries for a moment because it ties in with Saint Nick. It'll be very fascinating. So that's a little preview for that. So all of this really is understandable to the time period. I see Jackie came into the chat. Good to see you, Miss Jackie. I hope you all are having a great day and the sun is shining where you are. Continue to talk amongst each other as I roll through. Hello, hello, everyone. So he starts having these massive headaches and migraines. And he kept thinking, it's like it's interesting, he was denying the results of his own shame and guilt from what he did to Gertrude in a way, not paying attention to the fact that that would cause stress. But he was focusing more on the stress of this job that he doesn't want to do because he doesn't believe in it. And he really does not like his father. I mean, he was tolerating his father the majority of his life. The stress was causing massive headaches, he thought. Not fully so. It's a part of it. So hear me out. He did end up going to the doctor, and they found that old surgery, when they had to remove his testicle, formed a blood clot. Guys, this is way later. This is a blood clot that now it's like a lesion. Okay, kind of pushing on his spine in ways. That's now affecting his head. I will tell you, I had a cyst at the end of my tailbone. Yep. That I had to get removed because at one point I fell. There was an accident, and the cyst at the end of my tailbone, attached to my tailbone, swelled up and filled up with stuff. 4 huge syringes sucking the stuff out. I know, how gross. Ugh. Horrible pain. It was such horrible pain. Horrible pain. That's all I can describe is horrible pain. It was a hereditary thing. I apologize, the dog is pawing at me. It was a hereditary thing that I did not know that my father also had. And it was kind of a rough go, but I had that removed at some point. And I can only imagine having a blood clot that had probably been growing and then becoming so permanent as it's a lesion now on your spine. It'd be similar. But yet he might not notice that, but he's noticing it, hitting all those nerves that's attacking the brain. So they found it. They removed it. Okay. But the headaches didn't really stop. They slowly dissipated as something else came in its way. He started to lose his voice. This is what Cayce would refer to as divine punishment. His voice slowly started going to a whisper. Laryngitis down to almost nothing. Okay? So the blood clots removed. The headaches have kind of, as they phase out, loss of voice fades in, right? This is what he was referring to as divine punishment. Because you can't sell insurance without a voice. You can't do much of anything without a voice. This went on for months. Okay? That his voice did not return. This is where the story is going to start flipping, okay? At one point, he's whispering to Gertrude, too, just so you know, that he's saying, you need to leave me. I cheated on you. I'm basically a piece of crap. I'm never going to be able to provide for you. My voice is not coming back. I'm a shallow of a man. Whine. And Gertrude said no. I love Gertrude, man. I do have a new book that is My Years with Cayce. This is Gertrude's side of the story. I cannot wait to dive into this, folks. It's always interesting to get the other spouse, the other partner, the other family member's perspective when we're talking about someone, isn't it? And speaking on that, because I throw in my own life experiences, like having a cyst at the end of my tailbone that was just horrible. Fun fact about that, though. So the day that I was in excruciating pain, my mother took me to the hospital because she knew what it was, because my dad used to have it. And they sliced me open and was sucking out all the stuff. This is going to get so gross. Oh. And then they had to, because it was a pocket, of a cyst, it had to then slowly seal up, right? It had to seal up before they could actually remove it. So they packed it full of stuff. And then every day my mom would have to come home at lunchtime and I would get in the shower and she would take out the string of packing and then pack more in. Oh, it was so painful, folks. But I will tell you, the day after I was sliced open and they removed all the badness, I went to a Tom Petty concert with my dad. I had this huge bandage right on my bum. I mean, guys, I have a huge scar right at the top of my crack, let's say, from being removed. So it's like right there, and I had this huge bandage. And I'm at a Tom Petty concert with my dad, and I remember we're having a beer, and I said, why the hell didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me that this is a possibility in life, that this is going to happen and it's going to be extremely painful? And his response was, well, because we didn't know. Sometimes you inherit things, sometimes you don't. So why bring it up until it happens? And I was just like, as a young person, I was like, that's not logic I wanted to hear in the moment. So fun fact, I still rocked it out at a Tom Petty concert after the fact. Anyways, I'm sure that's not what Cayce was doing. He had enough fun with his little fling in Louisville anyways. This part, though, the losing the voice. Actually, some of you have witnessed it here who have been with me long enough. I periodically have times I lose my voice. Yep. Cayce didn't experience, he kind of would experience that a little bit throughout his life, but this was the mainstay. This was the one that was a divine intervention that he referred to as divine punishment, right? Because this is about to open doors, and that's how he even referred to it, as opening a door as we continue. But so many of you know, there's going to be times, folks, that I should be airing, or I have actually taught classes of only small groups of people. I'm 3 feet away from them, but I'm using a microphone because I have no voice. It is a thing that happens. So my husband knows it. I know it. It is not from, it's from the exact same reason, Cayce. It's if I am under too much stress and I'm not recognizing it, because you just keep going, like all energy, right? All of this is energy, so energy can start becoming that you are in propulsion of that energy. And like Cayce, he keeps working at his father's insurance company, even though he's dreading and hating it and just dreads it. Stress, but you do because you're trying, right? Or you get into the propulsion of something that's not really healthy, but you're now going, then something has to smack you. Something has to stop you. Something has to stop the stress and the madness. For me, often, if it's not anything massively serious, I lose my voice. It is, and now I know in my adult life, because it's been going on since I was a kid. I could have been a 10-year-old kid who all of a sudden lost their voice when I haven't been screaming or doing anything. It comes out of nowhere, right? I've had it my whole life. And there's no physical cause. It's not, anything that way. It is I lost my voice because of the stress. We're going to learn more how that happens. So, his wife said, no, I'm not giving up on you. Well, his fiance, I don't want to say wife yet, right? This is just a fiance. And I got to tell you, that's some love. That is love that I'm going to say was not always the case in the turn of the century. I mean, we still had a lot of people like the Cayces and the Majors, two of the tobacco families in that area of Kentucky that just kept marrying each other, right? Gertrude was from a different family, the Hill. That kind of love was not necessarily the case for engaged couples back when. It was more land or family pressure, right? For her to say, no, we're going to figure this out. You're going to get your voice back. I want my Edgar back. That's beautiful. That is beautiful to know that it was present in his life. So I think it was actually one of her family members, one of the Hill sisters, right? The Hill sisters. Those that know what I'm referencing to, it was like her aunts. They were a more well-to-do family who lived at the house. It was referred to as the Hill. Yes, we can kind of understand because all Hallmark movies have the Hill House. Or even scary movies have the Hill House, right? That was the family that Gertrude was a part of. One of his sisters actually contacted the hypno showman, because that's how I like to call that one. It's not a hypnotherapist, hypno showman. Contacted him because he was able to put Cayce under a trance those previous times. They told him, hey, Cayce lost his voice. Maybe you can do something. Maybe you can tell his subconscious to just have him start talking. Because we can't find out what any of the ailments are, right? Why is this happening? So he comes to the town. He was doing a show as well. Oh, he was doing a show, so he actually brought Cayce up on stage. Because by now, the small town community, right, they've heard. They know Cayce lost his voice. He does a show. He brings Cayce up on stage. He puts Cayce under, and he tells Cayce to speak. And Cayce starts speaking completely clearly. Just clear. Perfectly fine. So the hypnotist in his show goes, I cured him, right? He's cured, as showmen do. Well, then backstage, Cayce went right back to a very faint whisper, laryngitis again. He was not cured. And the hypnotherapist was like, okay, or hypno showman, sorry. That's what we call them in today's world. Isn't that interesting too? They did not refer to these people at the turn of the 19th century as hypnotherapists, but now we do. That will come up later as well. So, backstage, he said, you know what? This actually makes sense to me. Because, Cayce, I've seen you play pianos. I've seen you do this. I've seen you do things that you would have no idea how to do when you're under my trance. So clearly something is going on where you don't want to speak. Or something's happening in your subconscious that's preventing you from speaking because you do it perfectly fine in a trance. Still, Cayce did not recognize in himself the pressure, the pain. Your nerves are shot, buddy, right? Your nerves are shot. This also, I want to go back to, remember how Cayce can fall asleep? Just fall asleep and sleep for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, 3, 4 days, 5 days in a row. And I talked about how I can do the same. Same can also happen under a lot of stress. That, if you remember correctly, was at the beginning of his courtship with Gertrude. And he was stressing about how he wasn't good enough for her, how he wasn't financially stable for her, how the family would never accept him, all sorts of stress. And Gertrude said, hey, why don't you go to sleep? And with that, he fell asleep and did not wake up until Gertrude said, wake up. And that was like 4 or 5 days in because people were freaking out and didn't know what was going on. Same can happen here. I talked about in my family, it was always referenced to as the crash. Courtney's in her crash. Because it is like that. It's nothing can wake me. And it's stress, right? So now, we're in the loss of voice. This hypno showman, he didn't fix it. He didn't fix it. But the family didn't stop there. They saw enough evidence by when he was talking during the trance that they wanted to continue on with hypno people. So one of the family members, I don't remember whom, contacted either a local one, and then there was a one from New York. The reason I can't really remember, guys, is because he went through like 4 or 5 doctors and hypno. Okay, he was being run through the gambit to the point that he went down to like 85 pounds. Okay, remember Edgar was a very tall man, lanky, but very tall. 85 pounds is very sad. I saw it when my dad died. A 6'4" man went down to 85 pounds. It is skin and bones. Because he was still now living under the stress of not getting his voice back. This is a perpetuating problem, right? So they went through multiple doctors and multiple hypno people. Somewhere along the way, it was a doctor who also studied hypnotherapy, came down from New York. I think their name was, let me look at my notes, let me see, Girardeau. Girao. Came down from New York. He worked with Cayce, okay? And he was following, all these men are corresponding with each other that are trying to figure out what's going on with Edgar Cayce. And this is news, folks. This is news in the big towns, the little towns, all over the place. This is news. What is going on with this man, right? Oh my goodness, the news. So now it's also who's going to solve the mystery? Who's going to save the day? Who's going to be the shining star that cures what's going on with Edgar? Mm-hmm. So the doctor from New York came down, and he had corresponded with enough of the other folks that he was understanding a bit more. So every time he put Cayce under a trance, he was trying to talk to Cayce's subconscious and say, do this, do that, do this. And Cayce would be able to do it. But the moment he said, okay, speak correctly when you're not in this trance, it's as if the subconscious would just shut it off. Not even listen. So they were trying to figure out this mystery. When they say they had figured out some stuff, they figured out this is how Cayce could just read books. Remember, he loved working at the bookstore, and somehow it seemed that if he fell asleep on books or needed to know the material, he would just go to sleep for a moment and he would know the stories and the materials, right? Quote on quotation, read the books. They were very much delving into what is this man capable of as they're playing around in his subconscious to get him to speak. I think everybody here probably knows my feelings about this, as many of you would. Cayce did not deserve to be a case study like that. Turn of the century, very interesting. I'm going to read a moment from his bio. So the guy from New York, the doctor from New York, actually then brought in another doctor before he left, and then they were corresponding a lot, and that's Lane, Dr. Lane. And this is what is interesting. Kind of like our Dr. Benjamin Goins here at Stars of the Morning Light with his iodine, silver, and gold detox. Listen to this a little bit. And yes, I have my readers now. I got to put my readers on, folks. I finally got some. So, Lane believed in the popular slogan of the day. So this was the popular slogan of the day. Every man his own doctor. I want to read that again. Every man his own doctor. So that was a popular slogan of the day. Every man is his own doctor. Within you, you know how to heal yourself. Within you, you can try all sorts of different things to help yourself. This is the holistic that we live in today's world, right? And then turn of the century, remember spiritualism? You're your own doctor. Yeah. Now we're feeling that again, folks. Listen to this next paragraph. It was fascinating. I'm not used to wearing glasses yet. Do I look good? Do I look good with some glasses on? I hope I do. I love other people that wear glasses. I really do. I think glasses are gorgeous and sexy on people. I'm not used to it yet. So, in 1900, the year Lane learned astropathy through a mail-ordered course. So this guy, who was also referring to himself as a doctor, thank you, Lori, for saying I look good. He's not a doctor. He has taken some courses through the mail. This is awesome. Same as in today's world, all the different healing modalities and this and that. Are they credited from some big university or college? No, not necessarily, right? I have coursework, workshops that Stars of the Morning Light credit it because I know how it works and it is what it works, Same thing going on. Isn't that fascinating? Because everybody gets kind of There's a mixed bag of emotions about the healing arts, right? The healing arts of like energy work and this and that, because no university is going to accredit it yet. Yet. In the 1900s, people were doing the same thing, mail ordered courses. Now we just do it online, right? Or in person. I'm going to continue. There were 22 homeopathic medical schools in the United States, and more than 15,000 homeopaths in practice throughout the country. The American School of Osteopath was 8 years old, and the first college of neuropathy was at that very moment being established. Although Leanne called himself a doctor, in reality he had nothing but a correspondence degree. I find that fascinating. I really truly do, folks, that I find that very fascinating, that I keep trying to bring the similarities of what happens around the turn of the century into today's turn of the century. That I was born right around the same time as Edgar. I was born in 81. He was born right as the turn. He's a 20 in 1900. I think he's like 21, 23 or something like that. Same as me. I was born around the same type of turn. That we now have all this different schools popping up. All these different homeopathic. We call it holistic now. We call it holistic. Mind, body, soul, right? We call it holistic, and it's everywhere. And we got to have discernment as to what is legit and what is not legit, right? What works, what doesn't work. What's your path? What's somebody else's path? We all have paths. But the fact that at the turn of the century there were that many, I mean, guys, my goodness, there were 22 homeopathic medical schools. I don't even know if we have that many today. I don't know. I didn't look into it, but my goodness. That's awesome. And there were 15,000 homeopaths in practice throughout the country. Now, guys, think about the population difference, right? Turn of the century, there's not that many people in America yet. I mean, we got quite a lot going on, but it's mostly still farms. Opposed to like maybe some of the north where it's all the big cities. Think about that, 15,000 in that kind of population. And that's just the people that they knew about. Not the old school folks that were doing it out of, the shacks, right? That were doing it on the corner, doing it elsewhere, right? This is fascinating. I love it. I love when that kind of energy comes back around, right? That kind of energy is good. That kind of energy that says, hey, you know how to heal yourself. You know how to take care of yourself. You know what's best for you. I love that kind of energy. So not all these doctors, quote unquote, were what we consider doctors. But they had no problem calling them doctors back when. Same as Dr. Benjamin Goins here at Stars of the Morning Light. I have no problem. Does he have a bunch of degrees? Yes. Does he have his doctorate? No. Does he know what he's talking about when it comes to healing the mind, body, and soul? Hands down he does. Hands down he does. So, you're saying, get to the point, Courtney. Do they cure Cayce? Clearly they do, right? Well, during one of these hypno sessions, something kind of triggered, as these men are corresponding with each other, triggered one of them to say, hey, have we ever asked Cayce what he thinks he needs? Have we ever asked Edgar Cayce's subconscious to tell us what it needs to do to heal? So they set out to do it. Now this is what's interesting, okay? This is what threw everybody off. So they put Cayce under. They put Cayce under. And I'm going to read a few of what was actually said. So this is Lane saying, so the hypno guy, saying, "You are now asleep and will be able to tell us what we want to know. You have before you the body of Edgar Cayce. Describe his condition and tell us what is wrong." Edgar kind of took a moment, and then he kind of mumbled before he had a very clear voice and said, "Yes, we can see the body." That threw people off, but they continued on because they're trying to find a solution here. He answered, "Yes, we can see the body." Who's this we? They're thinking the whole time that they're talking to Edgar's subconscious. So how is there a we when they think they're just talking to Edgar? A part of Edgar that normally we don't think we can speak to, right? No, he said we can see the body. Threw people off. So in the room right now, he's got two sisters that are listening outside the door, eavesdropping. The doctor, his dad, his mom. Gertrude wasn't there, guys. This has also taken a toll on Gertrude. Cayce's down to 95 pounds, not talking. Gertrude's seeing these people kind of making a mockery out of solving the mystery. I do want to tell you at one point, they did a hypno routine in front of a funeral home. It was very weird and disturbing. And they were making a mockery out of because of their ignorance, okay? I'm sure they justified things in a lot of ways, but really he was a guinea pig for the hypno community to see what they could do. And it took a grave toll on Gertrude and him. So Gertrude was not even in the room when this happened, and they put him under and asked, "You're going to tell us what we need to know." And he answered with, "We can see the body." Let me continue. So then they asked him, "Okay, basically tell us what to do then." And this is how Edgar responded. "In the normal physical state," Edgar said, this body, not my body, not, right? This body is unable to speak due to partial paralysis of the inferior muscles of the vocal cords, produced by a nerve strain. This is a psychological condition producing a physical effect and may be removed by increasing the circulation to the affected parts by suggestion while in this unconscious condition. That is the only thing that will do it. Suggestion to the body forces the circulation through it here, and as the circulation passes along, it takes that away, puts new life to it, makes the supply to the nerve force go. You see? Those were Edgar's words that he is speaking. Very black and white. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, they were way thrown off. It said, he opens with, "In the normal physical state, this body," so not even not a part of him, the we, right? They're taking all this in, folks. When he first said we see the body, there was this pause. Like something is about to happen, pause, right? So somebody turned and said, "We got to write this down. Go get paper and pen." And his dad went to actually Edgar's coat, because now he was carrying around paper and pen and pencil in his pocket. Leslie ran and got it, sat down, and he was trying to dictate, write down these words here and take in these words. This is not how general people talk. Not at all, right? Very black and white, very precise. And this is, folks, so you know, known as his first reading. Because remember, he did medical readings, which is brilliant and wonderful. This body, I'm going to read it again. It's wild. It's wild to take it in. This body is unable to speak due to partial paralysis of the inferior muscles of the vocal cords, produced by nerve strain. He made himself so nervous it's messing up his vocal cords. This is a psychological condition producing a physical effect. So please know that we know that now. Think of how, at the turn of the century, all the weird science coming out. And then Freud. Oh, my Lord, Freud. All the weird stuff coming out to cure problems that were really psychological. This is stating this is a psychological condition that is producing physical effects. We know that in today's world to be very true, right? For those who want to accept and believe it. So then it goes into what to do about it. And may be removed by increasing the circulation to the affected parts by suggestion while in this unconscious condition. So they're telling him right now, after we tell you all this, suggest to his body, as he is in this state, to fix the problem, to get circulation moving again. They're telling everybody how to fix it right now. That is the only thing that will do it. Suggestion to the body forces the circulation through it here, and as the circulation passes along, it takes that away, puts new life to it, makes the supply to the nerve force go, you see? And then they said, do you see? Do you understand the words coming out of his mouth? That body there, the body we see. So, it was very interesting. Then the doctor's like, okay, he's taking all this in. So he says to Edgar, because he's supposed to suggest it, right, as he's in that trance, he says, increase the circulation to the affected parts. He's saying that to the subconscious, to the body. Edgar actually replied, the circulation is beginning to increase. It's increasing. Then the people in the room. Holy goodness, right? This is miracles. This is laying hands. This is believing. This is working with energy. This is even hypno. This is the power that man has, knowing and understanding his body. To the point, so Edgar then said, he said, circulation has begun, right? It started. The people in the room could see his neck started getting red and, went from pink to rose to even redder, to the point his dad undid his collar and everything and opened his shirt like this, opened it all up. I have a red neck now too, jeez. Opened it all up. And they visibly watched his body, Edgar's body, go from pink to darker to rose to even darker. Like they could see the blood starting to move, right? How wild. And then over a moment, it then decreased from dark red to rose down to pink down to pale, just his normal tone. they all paused in disbelief because they also could see it like starting to swell a bit and then go back down. It was wild. I could not imagine witnessing this. These are, and I will tell you, two girls are standing outside eavesdropping, his sisters, and there's three people in the room. Three people witnessed this. Let me find a good spot. So they're watching this, folks. The pink dispensed to rose, then to bright red. 20 minutes passed before he cleared his throat and spoke again. "It's all right now," Cayce said, still in a trance. "The condition is removed. The vocal cords are perfectly normal now. Make the suggestion that the circulation return to normal and that after that the body awaken." So whomever is delivering this message says, hey, the body did its job because you told it to. Everything's working in order. Now make sure before this guy wakes up, make the suggestion that the circulation return to normal, and after that, the body awaken. So then tell him the circulation has to go back to normal and then wake up. Could you imagine being in this room? Wow. So that's what the doctor did. He said the circulation will return to normal. After that, the body will awaken. They watched while the red around Edgar's neck faded back to rose, then to pink. Edgar woke up a few minutes later, sat up, reached for his handkerchief, coughed, and spat blood. The blood that came out was not just a drop or two, but enough to soak through the linen cloth, turning it to crimson red. So clearly he got rid of probably a lot of the residue, the blood, the stuff that was building up, right, affecting this. It got loosened by the circulation, and now he could get rid of it. I know this is all like, what a scientific, medical show this has been. Between my cyst on my spine and Edgar, spitting out blood, but positive, right? "Hello," he said in a clear voice. "Hey, I can talk," Edgar said. He was shocked because he just came back from the trance. Clearly felt like I gotta cough something up, coughed it up, and then said, hello, probably thinking it didn't work, and then all of a sudden heard his own voice. For the first time in months. In months, he heard his own voice. Fascinating. And I do want to say, you will hear, depending on the story, and actually it is very common for those who are having some deep spiritual awakening, or they have some kind of heightened gift that at some point they lost their voice. Some use that for a good, some don't. There are a lot of stories out there of ancient and current of people who lost their voice, and then when they got it back went a really horrible route, tyranny type stuff. And then those who went a more beautiful, gracious, caring for humanity route. Stories of people losing their voices throughout history, like I said, back then and today, are still very. It is a thing. It is a thing, and it's because of what happens. Silence is the greatest teacher, folks. Silence is the greatest teacher. And so when I speak of myself, I know that now that is the time that I need to actually pull back and focus on myself. When I lose my voice, I'm too stressed. I'm too busying for others and not myself. Or there is a very big, some kind of lessons going to be learned, some kind of spiritual element is going to be. The last time that I lost it really bad, most of you were with me, it was last March. I gained a lot out of that a lot of my patrons will learn over time. Very profound teachings came out of that. So it is a thing. It is a thing. Once again, us laymen out here, when we read these stories, know or hear of this stuff, or because I'm reminding you guys, because at the turn of a century, there's always new people on the game board, new awakening wonders, awakening people that are teachers that start saying a lot of things. Always. It goes with the energies of the turn of the century, you know. So we have discernment here. Just because they might have lost their voice, as in some of the stories work out really great and wonderful, not all of them do. So we have to have discernment when someone shares that. Because is it a symptom? Often, yes. It's a ascension symptom. It is a awakening symptom. It is for teachers like myself, it can be elongated as well. Or there are more spurts of it, right? Does not mean that on the back end of them getting their voice back, they are well-adjusted humans. So everyone always should have discernment. You are your greatest teacher. You have the best knower. You know who resonates with you and who doesn't, okay? So I just wanted to throw that out there because you are going to probably hear of it more so. And this is why, because even Edgar says it. So he says, I'm going to read, he said, hey, I can talk. And he grinned. He was so excited, right? And at the very end, this is kind of the end of this chapter, is excellent to know, right? And I'm going to leave it with this. There's a little one that's a little saying that says, thus began and ended Cayce's first documented trace reading. First began and ended. That was his first medical reading. That was his first time of people around documenting, writing down, because I had to write it down to remember what to say and do. Clearly, something speaking from him on a medical issue that did cure Cayce. It's interesting, folks, because Cayce then lived with doubt no matter what the majority of his life about his gift. That is a thing that we will always continuously talk about. It is when there is a pure heart like Cayce. Every time you walk away from doing a reading, you question if it helped. Most of you that might have gotten a reading from me, you know at the end I always go, I hope this helped. Almost every reading I do, I hope this helped. Because in my mind, I feel as if I have no idea. And I just want to know if it is. Right? Cayce was in the same boat. This was the beginning and the end of his first documented reading. That's fascinating. The end of his first documented reading, he got his voice. Think of the metaphor and significance of that, right? And then the next sentence reads, the door, in quotations, the door, as Cayce's psychic ability would later be described, had opened. And once opened, it could not be easily closed. Folks, I'm going to leave you with that because that is opening a huge door. That is opening a huge topic. Oh my goodness, a huge topic. What I can say to that, I'm going to go back to our card right before I leave, is when a door opens, change is upon, right? Good change, bad change. Change is upon. And that's what this card was. And not all change has to be difficult. But as we go through Cayce's bio, we will, most of us, most of you in the chat, most of you watching this later, will be able to resonate with that self-doubt. We'll be able to resonate with how to overcome. We'll be able to resonate with trusting yourself and the universe. Because when doors open, we don't really know what's on the other side. But we got to walk through to find out. I'm going to read this card one more time. Number 12, change. The frequency of change supports our ability to gracefully dance with the forever changing nature of reality, both inward and outward, so that we can appreciate the sweet release of the old and the birth of the new. He had 3 people in that room witnessing that. He had 3 people that now know something communicates through Cayce. That door was open, folks. Inward and outward. That door was opened. We're meant to walk through that stuff. We really are. So I love you all so dearly. Thank you for joining me. Oh, it was so great to be with you all and talking about Edgar. You guys know my love for him. He is a wonderful human being, him and his Akashic Records. He is the one that coined the phrase of that. So if you're new here, thank you for joining. Thank you for subscribing. Hit the like button, folks, please. Send this out to folks. Oh, I'm going to look real quick. Okay. Chloe, it's fine if you are missing pieces. It's fine. And Cricket, Morgan, good that you came in. Everybody, thank you for coming in. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, everybody. Send this out to folks. And hey, have a blessed, beautiful, sunful day. Yes, if the sun is shining, go put your face in it for a minute. Get your face some sun. We need it. And I'll see you Friday, folks, at 11 a.m. Friday's going to be a great show. A lot of interesting things will be said. So, and also Friday night, so everybody knows, we've kicked off. Lucky Stone 888 and I have kicked off a new series every Friday night at 8 p.m. Esoteric Tea with Lucky and Courtney. That's going to be airing again this Friday night. So lots going on Friday. Hang out with Stars of the Morning Light. It's a good time on Friday. Always a party. Always love. Always light. Shine on, beautiful stars. Peace.